some chefs say, research actually shows that if you spend more time around the table, you eat less calories and less food. So why not invite some friends over for a dinner that you can prepare in advance and that's easy to do? I'm going to be doing my husband's grandmother's lasagna recipe that's out of this world. Join me in the kitchen and I'll show you how it's done. We're going to start by making our own homemade tomato sauce. Now, this doesn't take hours to cook. It's actually really quick, about 15 minutes. So to start, I'm going to use a little bit of 5% lean ground beef because I think it gives a nice flavor, but without adding too much fat. And then in my hot pan, I'm just going to heat up a little bit of oil, and I want it to get nice and hot because I really want to get a good sear on this meat. What I'm going to do is take my ground beef, break it up into chunks about that size, and put those directly in. So you don't want to crowd the pan. If you do, what happens is the ground beef ends up steaming in its own juices, which is fine, but it's not going to taste very good. So let this sear without stirring for about 2 minutes. Then, once I'm ready to stir, I'm just going to flip the pieces over and let them sear for another 2 minutes. Now that we've got a nice sear on our beef, then I'm going to start breaking it up into maybe about 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch pieces. And then I'm going to continue cooking this until it's nice and brown. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and put in our onions. So those go directly in. I've also got a little bit of garlic in there too. So we'll just stir those around, and we're going to let our onions color as well. So I'm going to cook this probably for another 3 to 4 minutes. Now that our onions are starting to brown, I want to deglaze the pan because we've got all those little burned bits on the bottom that are really tasty. I'm going to use a little bit of white wine. If you don't have white wine, red wine is fine. If you don't want to use alcohol, that's okay. You can use water. Maybe you can use a little bit of beef broth if you have that on hand, or maybe even a little bit of chicken broth. This is just going to add a nice depth of flavor. And now what I want to happen is that wine or that liquid to come to a boil and completely evaporate before I add the tomatoes. Now it's time to add a couple sprigs of fresh thyme. I'm going to add the tomatoes. So those just get poured right in. And now this will simmer for about 15 minutes. Like I said, it doesn't take very long. So I'm going to put that on the back burner, and now here I'm going to start my bechamel. I've got my melted butter all ready to go, and then I'm going to sprinkle over my flour, and we're just going to toast the flour and the butter together until it smells like buttered popcorn. There we go. Now it smells nice and fragrant, so I'm ready to add my cold milk. Now don't forget, we're going to do cold milk and hot roux. That way we make sure we don't get any lumps. So I'm just going to gradually whisk these in, and then we'll cook until the mixture is thickened, probably another 5 minutes or so. Now that both of our sauces are nice and cooked, we don't want to forget to flavor our bechamel. So I'm going to use a little bit of salt, about a pinch there, some freshly cracked black pepper. There we go. And then the classic sauce always has a little bit of freshly ground nutmeg. If you just have the stuff in the jar, that's okay. To start assembling, I'm going to take about 1/3 of the tomato sauce and put that on the bottom, kind of spread that out. And let's not forget, take out those thyme sprigs. We don't want people to bite into those. And then 2 lasagna noodles go on top. I'm using oven-ready noodles so that they cook and absorb all the sauces while we're baking them. So kind of press them down there into the sauce. Now we're going to add a little bit of our bechamel, so pour those over the noodles. That should be good. We don't want to use too much because we've got several layers to do. Kind of spread that around. Doesn't this look heavenly already? There we go. A little bit more tomato sauce. So this winter, I spent the holidays in France with my husband's family, and we had some amazing food. But the best thing that I had was my husband's grandmother's lasagna. She's been making this for many years, and I just thought this was so incredible. And now for the finishing touch, I just want to add a little bit of cheese. This is grated Swiss over the top. And then we're going to cover this with foil and bake it for about 45 minutes, and then we're ready to eat. I wish you could smell how good this is. It just came out of the oven. Now, here's the bad news. Let it stand at room temperature for 30 minutes. You can't eat it right away. We want to let everything set up. Then you can slice it into pieces and serve. Happy and healthy cooking.